Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on the African Square. On today's episode, we will be continuing the story of Jatau, the brave hunter. Remember, the part one of the story ended where Bosa and his relatives came to seek for Koma's hand in marriage, only to realize that she was nowhere to be found, and her father had to set up a search party in search of her. So sit back, relax as we continue the story. As the story continued, according to the legends, Bosa, the Kananga village warrior, sat perplexed with his relatives, who clicked their tongues and wondered why the bride they had come to ask her hand in marriage deserted them. "Are you sure we are in the right place?" one of them asked. "Yes," replied Bosa. "I was here this morning and told her father of my intentions." "And did you tell her about your coming?" another elder queried. "No, I did not," replied Bosa. "I didn't think I needed to tell her. Moreover, I wanted to take her by surprise." "I see," the elder retorted with mild sarcasm. "No wonder you both have succeeded in surprising us all. You've not done anything wrong by not telling her, my son," another elder maintained. "Our custom is clear on it. It is the bride's father who approves a suitor for his daughter, and not the other way around." While they waited, Koma ran. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her to find Jatau. She ran to his house, but didn't find him. With tears swelling up in her eyes, she continued to Jatau's farm. There, she saw him freeing his traps and ran into his embrace. She wept bitterly as she told him about Bosa and his relatives. Jatau raged, trying hard to suppress the anger swelling up within him. He was not one to be drawn into competition, but for the sake of Koma, he made up his mind to compete with Bosa. He gave Koma a long hug and calmed her. He advised her to go back to her father's house while he proceeds to summon his relatives, who he had already told about his intentions to marry Koma. The search party, led by Koma's father, accosted her along the path leading to the village square and escorted her home. Despite the entreaties by her father and relatives, she remained mute and spoke to no one until they arrived home to meet Bosa and his relatives. "Please accept him, my daughter," Koma's father whispered into her ears as they arrived the intersection leading to his house. "He seems to be a good man, our own village warrior. I know it's hard for you to marry someone who you don't love, but trust me, you both will find love along the way. We need his support to bring back your younger ones who are slaving as maids in other people's home." They arrived, and Koma's father apologized to his guests, covering up Koma's escape. He then lifted the keg of palm wine, placed in front of him, and poured out some of its contents into a calabash. He gave it to Koma and asked her to go and present it to her groom in line with their custom. Koma hesitated, intermittently throwing her gaze at the entrance of her father's compound in anticipation of Jatau's arrival. Her friend and relatives urged her on, clapping their hands in solidarity. Koma waited, leaving her father's arm hanging in the air till Jatau emerged at the entrance of their compound, with his relatives carrying kegs of palm wine, tubers of yam, livestock, and an assortment of fruits. Koma was elated. She took the palm wine from her father's hand and spilled the contents. Her father and relatives were surprised. Some stood up in protest, while the others spit out the kola nuts and drinks in their mouth. "Abomination!" screamed one of the elders that came with Bosa. "Never has this happened in Kananga village, that two of our sons would seek for a maiden's hand in marriage on the same day." And so, they consulted the village seer, who advised that Jatau and Bosa be put to an endurance test. Both parties agreed, and as instructed by the village seer, they sent for Tome, the village disciplinarian, to flog them, insisting that the person with the most endurance would marry Koma, since marriage was all about endurance. Bosa's relatives were happy and soon began chorusing a warrior's chant to spur Bosa, who leaped around the compound in a show of confidence. Koma became scared for Jatau, who sat quietly with his relatives on the opposing side. She feared he might not have the endurance of Bosa, who had led battles for the village. As noon faded into evening, the news spread across the village and people began to gather to witness the first village marriage to be decided by flogging. They hailed Koma for pulling such weight. Tome soon arrived and invited Bosa and Jatau to lay on the flogging platform he had made from bamboo. As they lay face down with no shirts, Tome greased the leather whip with palm kernel oil to make it sturdy. While Bosa basked in the euphoria of the chants about his feats in battle, Jatau raised his head and fixed his gaze on Koma, who was made to stand in front of them. Whoop! Whap! Whoop! The long whip continued, landing on the butt and backs of Jatau and Bosa at precise intervals. Koma couldn't bear the spectacle. A sense of guilt enwrapped her, and she began to shed tears. She begged to leave, but the elders from both sides refused. She cried profusely and closed her eyes. Unexpectedly, Bosa began to move from side to side in pain, following the rhythm of the whip, while Jatau remained cold, his eyes fixed on Koma as she wept uncontrollably. Bosa's relatives soon began to challenge the endurance competition, complaining that it was unfair. They argued that Jatau's chubby butt was helping him absorb the strokes. While they argued, Bosa struggled to remain calm, rolling and shaking. After a while, he burst out in a loud shriek as tears began to roll down his cheeks. Koma heard the shriek and opened her eyes. Somehow, she knew it was not Jatau. Her eyes met Jatau's smile, and the tears that streamed down her cheeks suddenly ceased. When Bosa could no longer stand the pain, he stretched out his hands and clutched the sand beneath them in submission. The villagers roared. Tome's mission was done. Some of them rushed and carried Jatau, lifting his heavy frame high above their heads, singing songs of victory. One by one, Bosa's relatives began to leave with their heads bowed. He joined them when the pain on his butt and back subsided. The village maidens began to encircle Koma, who stood still, overwhelmed by Jatau's victory. They sang and danced around her while she shed tears of joy, staring at Jatau, who was carried around mid-air. And when the jamboree was over, Koma's father and relatives accepted Jatau as their worthy son-in-law. The villagers looked on, cheering Koma as she knelt down to present the customary drink in a calabash to Jatau, who spared no time in gulping all of its content before they proceeded to receive family blessings. And like the story goes, Koma became the proud mother of Jatau's children, blessing her father with lovely sons and daughters. And with that, we come to the end of today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can stay notified when our next story is available. Thank you for joining us and catch you soon.